So, David, you've been using Havenwise for a while now. Could you just give us a rundown of your system, how that actual integration worked, and how it's actually performing for your system?
The short version is is performing very well now. The house is, I've been a three-bedroom terraced house, and the house is toasty warm, and I'm saving quite a lot of money versus a gas boiler, around about 25 to 30%, depending on how you calculate it. How can I put it? It wasn't ever thus. I installed my heat pump about 3 years, coming up 3 years ago, and it's fair to say I've been on a bit of a journey. I've made all the mistakes that most people make, or rather, perhaps I should say that most installers make to start with, and it took a while to sort all that out. Towards the tail end of which, Henri and Havenwise came in and basically got the system running as well as it is today. It's a Mitsubishi EcoDan, and it was installed, as I say, about 3 years ago. I like the installers; they seem to do a really good job physically, but I think, as the data suggests, most people have this experience. The commissioning fell down a bit. I quite early in the process asked the installers, "Oh, can I keep using my thermostatic radiator valves?" And they said, "No, I know I have about a half a dozen, or did have." And they said, "Yeah, sure, we can make those. We can make all those talk to the system. That's fine." Which was very obliging, but actually, what they should have said is, "Yes, we can, David, but you'd be mad to run it that way because it'll be really inefficient." So that was one thing I think that went wrong. And the next was that at the end of the job, Friday night, fitter wants to get home. "David, would you like us to set up a weather compensation?" And I didn't, in my ignorance, I said no. I didn't really know anything about it, and just leave it at 50. I'm sure that'll be fine. So for the first 2 years, I mean, the system ran fine, but it was probably costing me 150 quid more than gas per year. And I got a bit sick of this, so started to play around with found out about and started to play around with the weather compensation curve myself. Straight away, raised the SCOP or the COP from less than 2.5, probably 2 to 2.5 to 3. So that was fine, but that's where it was sitting, and that's not even still. That's still costing a bit more on gas. Somehow I ran into Henri online, and he persuaded me to be his lab rat, and so that's what happened. And basically, Havenwise took control of the heat pump, started running it as Henri as described, and that's raised the SCOP to 3.5. And again, that's really only even Stevens with gas. That's about a very small saving, 5 or 6%, something like that. But then on top of that, you've got the effect of the agile tariff and the financial optimization and weather optimization that Havenwise provide. And that's taken the savings, as I say, to 25 to 30%, depending on how you calculate it. So at the end of this year, at the end of March, I'll have a full year of that data. And it looks to me like from my own, kind of amateur back of the envelope calculations, that even if February and March are as cold as January, and even if the agile prices are as miserable as they've been recently, my total energy bill will be about 1,300 quid for the year, compared to the off-gem cap of about 1,700 quid. So again, it's 25 to 30% savings, depending on how you look at it, which I think is fantastic, and is quite, it's totally opposite to the kind of general narrative that you get about heat pumps. The interesting thing I will say is that, well, I don't know if it's interesting or not, but it's interesting to me. Probably the SCOP now at 3.5 is in fact what the installers predicted. That was in their calculation to start with. So I think the system's running physically as efficiently as it can. That in itself would only be even Stevens with gas. On top of that, the bulk of the savings have basically come from optimization, not from the efficiency of the system. Now, obviously, if it were a SCOP of 4 or higher, then you'd have a higher baseline, and there would be higher savings just from efficiency. But what that says is that optimization is really, really important. And when I write about these things and get commissioned to write about them, my argument is that we should basically make optimization mandatory, because essentially that there is so much saving to come from that. As far as the consumer is concerned, who cares where the savings come from? Engineers may care about doing a great job, or some of them may not. What this does is take that out and take the commissioning, particularly out of engineers' hands, and puts it in the hands of AI, and it seems to do a pretty good job.
Just from a setup perspective, David, how easy was it to do? I assume you did the whole thing yourself. So could you just walk us through that process? Was it minutes? Was it hours? Was it days? How long did it actually take for you to set the whole thing up?
It was dead easy because it's virtual. I mean, I had considered a couple of other optimizers, but they need little boxes of tricks to be wired directly into the heat pump, and that, obviously you've got to get a guy out to do that. This is actually, it's a few numbers in there, and the thing's set up. So it's dead easy. That, I think, is that's a real advantage. To start with, there seemed to be some argument about whether the manufacturer's API, application programming interface, I think, is reliable enough for a virtual optimizer really to be, as it were, secure and reliable itself. But that doesn't seem to have been a problem. I mean, all the big manufacturer suppliers like Octopus and Aera are doing this anyway. It kind of all comes preloaded, as it were. So I don't think the other manufacturers are going to get away without making sure that their APIs are reliable, because they're just going to get left behind if they do. So I think that issue is kind of, I don't know, probably in the process of being sorted. So yeah, no, I found it very easy.